When are you going to learn, man, that it is completely inappropriate and unacceptable, and the king simply will not have it, and the royal family simply will not have it, with you calling up trashy reporters at trashy mainstream media publications to try and force them into doing something they don't want to?
100% trapped. I mean, he talked about it on that TV show, that he's the one that can't get away, because now she rules the roost. She's cut him off from the family. She's got no family. She's got the friend. She's got Marcus Anderson. He's a fun person, and he will fill her in with the gossip and all of that sort of stuff. But, you know, Harry to her, a means to...
Harry making like all these games around his children, trying to be this, you know, man that gets what he wants all the time, and using your children to do it. It's so wrong and disgusting. I don't even know. Harry is just a broken man, Dan. He is broken in a big way. And I feel sorry for those children. I really do, because they're the ones who are going to be the ones losing out and not having these experiences while they're...
Prince Harry is due in the country next month. He still has no confirmation from the Home Office that he's going to get the taxpayer-funded security. Good. He still has no confirmation from King Charles that Harry will meet him. Good. Because remember, what remains so central to all of this is that
Harry reportedly gave his cancer-stricken father a harsh ultimatum, saying, "Give me what I want or you'll never meet your grandchildren." The demand sparked serious attention and raised eyebrows. But the king's response caught many people off guard. Charles didn't argue, didn't plead, and didn't fire back. Instead, he stayed silent, and that quiet reaction spoke volumes.
Grandchildren should just be a natural thing. There should not be any negotiations around seeing your grandchildren. How absurd is that? You know, and at the end of all of this, Dan, Harry is going to regret it so much, because you do not use your children as pawns to get what you...
Let me tell you exactly what was reportedly said. Because once you hear it laid out clearly, it's easier to understand why some critics reacted so strongly. According to comments discussed in the media, Harry indicated that without taxpayer-funded armed security, he would not bring the children to visit the king. Instead, he suggested he would travel alone. That statement quickly sparked debate, with some observers arguing it came across as more than just a discussion about travel logistics. To critics, it sounded like a form of pressure disguised as a practical arrangement. And that interpretation set off another wave of controversy and public discussion. Because remember, what remains so central to all of this is the threat, which is that if I don't get that, and he said this again, by the way, to the New York Post in page 6 this week, if I don't get that, then I'm not going to come with the children, I'll come on my own. Critics interpreted the situation in an especially harsh way, framing it as pay up, father, or you'll go to your grave never having known your own grandchildren. That characterization struck many people as deeply troubling to them. Spending time with grandchildren should be a simple family matter, not something tied to conditions or ongoing disputes. There shouldn't be a negotiation or a list of terms attached to a family visit, critics argued. And that's exactly why the controversy drew such a strong reaction. You know, make it about your children seeing their grandfather. Make it about them having the experience of knowing your father, the king, before you know he passes on. That's what it should be about. Why is Harry making like all these games around his children, trying to be this, you know, man that gets what he wants all the time, and using your children to do it? It's so wrong and disgusting. I don't even know. Critics argue that Harry has turned a private family disagreement into a very public spectacle. In their view, the issue has been played out across highly publicized media coverage and attention-grabbing headlines, putting a deeply personal matter directly in the spotlight. When are you going to learn, man, that it is completely inappropriate and unacceptable, and the king simply will not have it, and the royal family simply will not have it with you calling up trashy reporters at trashy mainstream media publications to try and force them into doing something they don't want to do? Critics say that's where Harry may have made his biggest miscalculation. The moment a dispute involving the monarchy is fought through newspaper interviews and public headlines, the situation becomes far more complicated. In their view, the king cannot appear to be changing official matters simply because of pressure from his own son. And many believe that was never a realistic outcome, as the public debate has intensified. Some royal watchers have suggested that Charles may have chosen a completely different approach, one that avoids confrontation altogether. And the more attention the issue receives, the more people speculate that the king has quietly settled on a response Harry may not have expected at all. Harry's in a position now where he's just trying to force his father's hand, and the king just cannot fall into that. Some commentators believe Charles has chosen to step back from the entire dispute, rather than engage with it directly. But here's the part that keeps fueling debate among critics. They argue there were ways these concerns could have been handled privately away from headlines, cameras, and constant public scrutiny. So the question many people keep asking is simple. If a quieter path was available, why wasn't it taken? Harry just will not move on from the fact that his father is not prepared to create a constitutional crisis here. And good on him for putting his foot down. Yeah, I think he has to, because where will it end? Harry will always keep wanting more and more if his father gives. Critics point to what they see as a simpler alternative that may have been available all along. They note that Harry has frequently traveled by private aircraft, which is why some observers question whether a more discreet arrangement could have been made. In their view, the children could have traveled directly to Scotland with minimal public attention. Some royal commentators have also suggested that secure transportation could potentially have been arranged for the journey to Balmoral. Since much of that route would involve royal property or controlled areas, they argue the logistics may not have been as difficult as the public debate sometimes suggests. Or he could fly by private jet into Scotland directly. I'm sure the king would happily provide appropriate security for the drive from the airport to Balmoral. Now, we know that drive is only about 90 minutes. Supporters of that viewpoint argue that once on the Balmoral estate, the family would be surrounded by extensive security measures and a high level of privacy. They point out that the estate is enormous, offering plenty of space away from public attention and media cameras. In that scenario, the focus wouldn't be on headlines or controversy. Instead, it could simply be a grandfather spending time with his grandchildren during a quiet summer visit, while the opportunity remains. Given the size of Balmoral, critics note there would be little reason to leave the estate at all. He's got himself in a corner. He is now 100% trapped. He talked about it on that TV show that he's the one that can't get away because now she rules the roast. She's cut him off from the family. She's got no family. Critics argue that a short visit could in theory be arranged without the kind of large-scale operation people often imagine. A couple of days, a private stay, and limited travel. That's the scenario they point to. From that perspective, they believe security concerns for a specific family visit could potentially be managed, which is why some commentators remain unconvinced that this particular dispute is only about the logistics of one trip. That debate has led many observers to ask a bigger question. What is this disagreement really about? Critics have put forward their own answer, and they argue it goes beyond a single visit or a single event. In their view, the central issue is status and the long-term question of official protection. More specifically, some believe the real focus is securing permanent taxpayer-funded security arrangements, rather than temporary measures for one occasion. According to that argument, the dispute is about whether such protection should continue indefinitely wherever Harry lives or travels in the future. That's the interpretation that has fueled so much public discussion and controversy. That's not what this is about. He wants the guarantee of security because that means he gets security forevermore. Including, by the way, once Prince William comes to the throne. So, none of this is about trying to make King Charles happy because, as I say, and I hope I've just explained it, critics say this is the part that has generated some of the strongest reactions from the public. According to that viewpoint, any long-term security arrangement wouldn't just be relevant during Charles's reign. They argue it could remain a subject of debate well into the future, even after William eventually becomes king. And I think William is very much justified to say these things about these tightening of certain things and protocols because that's what he has to do to save the monarchy. So much has happened with Andrew and Harry and Meghan that he has to make some very drastic decisions, and sometimes your family members are going to be caught in between that. Prit.